Of course. Hi, my name is Sofia Garcia. I am the founder and director of ARTXCODE, a generative art house dedicated to the algorithmic arts community since 2018. So I work with artists, collectors, and institutions advising on all things related to generative art and Web3. My experience with NFTs was kind of a culmination of a lot of different interests. I was fascinated with art history, with computers. I started experimenting with cryptocurrency in about 2016, doing Bitcoin hackathons. But it was really once I started getting really into generative art that everything really unlocked for me. I moved to New York City, and it was there that I came across art and blockchain events, and it was a amazing culmination again of my interest. And so I was learning about NFTs. I was going to different events and learning about mostly the collectible side of things. It wasn't until 2019 that I was doing an exhibition that we really decided to experiment with NFTs for an artist. And I will admit I was hesitant at that point. I was hesitant of this idea of having a fine artwork be part of the NFT ecosystem, but I'm very happy that I did that. So that we did that. And throughout 2019, my framework for looking at NFTs were really as certificates of authenticity for physical artworks. And then when 2020 came around, I really saw the power of a digital-only ecosystem and collectors and artists who were more than willing and able to collect and engage with work online. So before I entered the NFT arena full time, I was an engineer at JP Morgan. I started off initially as a front end developer, doing a lot of data visualization, animation, user experience design. I then switched over to what they refer to as the creative technologist team, and that was a lot of prototyping. And then I joined their blockchain team as a technical design strategist and working with the strategy teams, design teams, the tech teams, just to really look at everything that was going on. But before that, I was studying art history. I had worked at a gallery in Miami and was very into street art and the arts as a whole. So the arts, the tech side of things, it all came together, and that's what I was doing before I decided to go all in on curation. But it was always something that I did outside of work. It was always a hobby, something that I did for fun, and yeah, it's really great to be able to do it for a living now. Yeah. So ARTXCODE really started off as a creative outlet for myself. I was completely anonymous. It was a place for me to go online and share the work of artists. And honestly, the first few posts, I share some of my early work, and I was really just trying to find a community, trying to figure out who else was interested in code-based artwork. And that was something I kickstarted in, I believe, 2016. And through there, I started to form relationships with a lot of the artists that we see making headlines today. And we were all friends, and we were all sharing each other's work, talking about it. And it was through there that I decided to ultimately start collecting works. And so I started collecting the work from Tyler Hobbs, Dmitry Cherniak, Caleb Ogg, these artists that I was just so fascinated with their work. And when I went to an event, like I had mentioned previously, these amazing art and blockchain events, I learned about an exhibition that was going to be taking place, an art fair called the Contemporary and Digital Art Fair. And I decided to have a booth. And so I worked with the two artists that I had been really collecting at the time, Tyler Hobbs and Dmitry Cherniak, and decided to put their works up. And that changed everything. Just having this need to talk about it, educate the public, and make sure people realized just how important it was that these artists were working in such an interesting way. And that event, we ended up selling out the show, and I kind of realized, okay, well, I guess I sell artwork now. And that was a really interesting, moment. And so after that, I continued to organize more shows. I continued to curate exhibitions online, offline, and really continued to tell the story. And last year, things really took a turn in the generative art space, and it became the key conversation across the board. And so, now our dedication really is to this community and continuing to carve out an elegant space for these artists to share their work, to tell their story, and to do so in a way that is respectful. I think is really the key thing that we're trying to do. So I think one of the key differences trying to figure out artwork that is natively digital, that lives online, how to respect and honor it in the way in which it's produced. And I think right now, being able to be in a gallery that predominantly lives online. I don't have a physical space. I don't have a place for collectors to go to and see these works in person. But what I do love to do, and what I think is so fascinating about this space, is just how global it is. And so this idea of being able to pop up in any city and organize a show, I think is fascinating. And that translation between the digital work into the physical space is something that I explore constantly, trying to figure out how does our relationship with digital artwork change once it's brought into our physical environment. And that's really what I'm exploring in the talk later on today. So I don't want to repeat myself too much, but that's kind of, those are the things that I think about when, going about this gallery that lives between the physical and the digital realms, but honoring both as valid ecosystems, I think is very important. Yes, I collect NFTs. I have a weird. I wouldn't say that I am a super collector that owns hundreds of thousands of NFTs. I'm pretty particular, and also I have no rhyme or reason at times. There are works that I will see and I adore, and I might not. Maybe I don't have the ETH at the time, or maybe for whatever reason, I decide not to collect it, but I always try to support artists in the best ways that I can. So one of the reasons why I love curating shows and the reason why I love selling artwork is because even though I may not be able to afford it, or maybe, I feel like it's not on me to like hoard the artwork, I think it's really important to get it out there into variety of groups of collectors. And so yes, I absolutely collect artwork and I love supporting artists in that way, but at the same time I find this amazing satisfaction in curating and getting the work sold as well. To me, they're equal ways of supporting the artists. Yeah, it's a loaded question. I mean, I think as a whole, blockchain is changing so much. One of the key things is the transparency into the entire sales process. I think in the traditional art world, it's very common to sell an artwork to one collector for one price, sell it to another collector for a completely separate price. And there's really no way of verifying if like what you're paying for is actually like, I guess, valid. I don't know if that's the right word, but transparency has, and transparency also does provide its own problems as a dealer. There are collectors that maybe have been supporting this artist for a really long time, and the artist is okay with them paying a different price point. And that might create a different dialogue when collectors are like, well, hey, I paid this much. Why is that person paying that much? But it's still good. It's still a really wonderful, even like playing field to be able to see that. So I think transparency has been the biggest thing. On top of that, in the generative art space specifically, so code-based artworks, what blockchain has done and what NFTs have done has completely unlocked this art form in a way that's never been experienced before. So the innovations of the Larva Labs with autoglyphs and the advent of art blocks with thanks to Eric Calderon, have really changed the ecosystem for the better. So beforehand, when we would sell, or when I would sell, like, generative code-based artworks, they were predominantly prints. We would create prints from the code, and then we would have printouts of the code. And when someone wanted to acquire it, we would have this print, we would have the code and the certificate of authenticity, and it was this whole package. And now with NFTs, when I acquire an on-chain generative artwork, that digital work that I'm acquiring is the performance of the code. It is the code itself. And I think that is been a fundamentally massive shift in the way that we engage with this work. As a collector, as an artist, as someone who's just experiencing it, for the first time, you really get to acquire the magic of the artwork and not, I wouldn't refer to it as a shadow, but maybe just like a screenshot of it. It's essentially a photograph in a way, but it gets dicey when you start talking about the aura and photographs and all of that. But in this idea of like the age of mechanical reproduction, and you lose the aura in that sense, I would say that what the blockchain has allowed is for us to actually embrace the aura of code-based artworks. Thank you. Thank you so much to NFTs in Europe for being able to open up the dialogue, especially in a city like Paris, about NFTs and the future of digital art, and the bringing together some of the minds that really do reflect what's happening now. I think we have a problem. The media loves to paint the picture of NFTs as this highly speculative gambling, crypto bro culture. And while there is a facet of that exists, it is not at all representative of the incredible, creative, innovative spirit that exists on the art side. And so I think bringing together all of these artists and curators and writers under one roof to really speak our truth about our experience and really highlight the beauty of it all is a really special thing. So thank you to NFTs in Europe.